Is it better to hire now based on I need this certain skill set, or is it better to hire on character?
Oh man, that depends who you ask.
Because the world has changed, and both of you got
Absolutely.
yeah, both of you had,
yeah, perspective.
So yeah, do you hire for skills or character? So I'll add a third one to that. Also, and it's
Okay.
also do you hire for industry knowledge? So
Okay.
I'll give you an example. So one of the challenges that I'm faced with when I have to hire someone on my team at the university is it better to hire somebody who knows post-secondary as an industry? They know the politics of it. They know how the organizations work and function, especially large-scale public sector research-intensive universities.
You mean like healthcare would be different than education?
Yeah, and different than government, different than oil and sand
Right.
or oil and gas, right? But do you take somebody who knows the industry and has a technology background and teach them cybersecurity? Or is it better to take somebody who has a background in let's say, pure cybersecurity and then bring them on board, but now have to teach them politics and teach them the industry? And truthfully, we've done both over the years. And the answer, like there is really no answer. The answer is what do we need at that point in time and what's important, right? I've seen people come in with no education background trying to make, and we talked about this earlier before recording this, very immediate, quick changes to something without taking the chance to sit back and learn. And it becomes very disruptive, right? You don't build a lot of credibility and a lot of good relationships when you just come in and say, hey, we did this thing this way in this industry, so we're going to do that over here, and it just doesn't work, right? But at the same time, we've also, we've worked with individuals that were hired for just character. And great upstanding individuals, but then you got to teach them the IT and you got to teach them the technical side, and that's
it's a trade-off. It's a teeter-totter of which way.
It's how quick can they learn, how quick can they grasp, and if they can grasp it very quickly, fantastic. If they struggle to grasp things, then you spend more time holding hands, and that's not a bad thing. But the point that I'm getting at is I don't know what I'm getting at here, but there's I think it's context specific.
No, I get what you're saying.
It depends really, and it's also what's your immediate need. If you need to bring in somebody with a technical proficiency
to do this,
they need to be able to do that.
Absolutely.
Thing. Now they need to be a decent human at the same time, and I agree with everything you said on that part. Now I'm going to go however or but, and that maybe negates it, but it doesn't. Because what I do look for, and I read a book many moons ago called The Ideal Team Player. I don't know if you've ever read that book.
I have not.
No.
And what it's about is grasping the concept that there's 3 characteristics you need to look into a person to see if they have. That's being humble, meaning, check the ego. We all have egos, and ego's not a bad thing, but it needs to be in check. It needs to be in the right way, because that arrogance versus self-confidence is such that fine line.
It is fine.
Right? So it's that humble. Then there's hungry. And hungry really means not you're hungry. I'm kind of snacking.
I'm looking at the food there.
I know. But it's that hungry to go after something. Do you step away from a challenge, or do you run after the challenge? Do you see a team member?
Initiative, I call it. I always say initiative.
And do you see a team player who needs some help, even though it may not benefit you? It is to help somebody else be better, or at least whatever organization or team you're working for to upload. Then the other is that whole fact of being able to be smart. And I don't mean intelligence, book smarts. It's emotional intelligence. These are all core, what I call human skills. Not soft skills, but the human skills. Do you have all those things? Now, you do need the technical proficiency somewhere. Right? You can't come in from being a gardener and then jump into running a data center. Right? If that's the role. Now, it doesn't mean that person can't learn, but maybe they started a help desk. But again, it comes down to the need I need at that moment. And I've walked into some roles going, I can bring somebody in and look for these 3 characteristics, and that's all I care about. And I can up-level the rest if this individual has those 3 characteristics. However, if I need them for a specific reason, then I might have to say, I need to bring in somebody with these 3 characteristics, but also the technical proficiency.
You nailed it there. Like that's I think it's a great way of saying it, right? When we're hiring or evaluating candidates, it's one of the key things going through my mind is what areas, like that's what separates candidates from one another. People are always asking, Michael, how do I get a job? What is my resume? And like at the end of the day, what I'm really doing is I'm evaluating what type of effort and how much do I, as your immediate supervisor or manager, do I have to put in, and does the team have to put in? And that's going to vary from person to person to person. We might say, oh, this person has great technical.
But that's very fair, though, right? It's got to somebody's got to fit an organization. If it's going to create too much work on you, and you don't have that time or that time at that point, it doesn't work, right? So I guess it's coming down to it's got to be the right fit. 100% and in multiple different ways. I think we could probably, thinking about now, I think this could be a whole nother topic and really go into the right fit for organizations. But
it's a fascinating discussion.
It is.
I was actually told by someone once, they said, you kind of hear the word culture fit. Yes. And I had somebody actually say to me once, they said, Michael, don't say that because it's not inclusive. Telling people that they're not a good culture fit. Yeah. It's a not inclusive thing. And I was like, I get what you're saying, but there's a difference between like not a good culture fit in the context of everything that we've talked about, and then not a good culture fit in a context of we're just
maybe it's
trying to be specific. And it was it was like I'd never been told that before, and
I wonder is the wording brand fit instead of a culture, because every organization has a brand behind it, whether it's the university, big on education, enabling people, Veeam as an example, data resiliency and being technical and
100%.
going in and solving challenges with solutions. And do you fit that brand of whatever the organization has instead of the culture of an organization?
Yeah, and that's a great way. Change that wording up. One thing that you said that I thought was really neat is, we talked about it recently in one of our supervisors meetings. So back kind of to tie this all together, when we talk about hybrid, and we talk about work from home, one thing we all hear a lot is people will say, well, I'm more productive at home. And people are saying, great, but the word there is I, right? But what about we? What about we?
That's a great way of looking at I.
As a team, maybe you specifically might be more productive in the very focused nature of role, but how does that actually impact the entire team? And someone else.
I love that. I love that. The I versus we in that statement. That's great.
And it's not just about productivity. It's also about efficiencies.
Yeah.
So maybe you as an individual might be more productive, but perhaps we as an organization or team are not actually being as efficient as we could.
Yeah.
And those are the discussions that we kind of have now, right? Is we all are in this together.
100%.
And if one person working from home, they might be productive, but if they're doing it in a way that's dragging down the rest of the team, now you have these other discussions about
I versus we.
Us as leaders need to look at a pillar or a foundation, a framework, whatever you want to call it. But when I look at things, I go, for an individual, for me even, I go, there's 4 things I look at when I do anything. I put, how does it impact my family? Is number 1. Then I go, how does it impact the organization? Number 2. How does it impact the team? Number 3. And number 4 is individual.
How does it impact you?
Because I don't own the organization. The thing I do be most responsible for is my family. So that's why I always say it's in that order for me. It's family, company, team, and individual. And that's how priorities should be set on how that's impactful.
And if people aren't, if they're not setting that priority in that sequence, and it's just an opportunity for education. 100%. Right? Like we just did. It's like, it's not about the I, it's about the we. And people go, okay.
The more we have conversations like this, the more we learn from it. I love the couple of statements Michael said, the I versus we. I think that's a really good way of looking at the hybrid remote working, the dilemma that seems to be the industry is under right now.